oversee groups of people, including your cultural auxiliary board and FACN board. If there is an instance where someone you have chosen to hold a leadership position within these groups begin to cause issues that affect the morale of others, what would be your steps to resolve the issue?
Thank you for that question. It's one that I definitely didn't consider, but I see that with being in multiple organizations, including Samahan and also previous ones in my high school experiences, it's very common to see that people sometimes can't really step into their role or just don't happen to have the experience or qualifications to really hone into those skills that are needed. And so if that happens, as one of the CoCos, I will make it my duty to support that specific person in whatever way I can. I'll ask if there's anything that they need help with or anything that's really hindering from preventing them from what they're doing. I know burnout is something that's really prevalent with an organization like this where there's constant things going on, and sometimes it can just be internal factors that are preventing them from being at their best. However, it can be pointed out that sometimes some people just don't have the best interest in mind or really sometimes aren't able to step into that role. And so if that happens, I would take action on my part to see if maybe having someone else step in their place or giving them another role within our productions or on our board is something that's more suitable for them. Overall, I know that addressing a conflict like this is really important to the overall success of those auxiliary boards and productions and shows in general. So I'll make it within my best efforts and also our coordinators and supervisors' abilities to make sure that our success is ensured.
Are you ready for your second question? A big part of the Cooperative Cultural Affairs Coordinator position that sets it aside from others is that two officers hold the position. This may be difficult considering conflicting schedules, ideas, beliefs, etc. In what ways will you ensure that the position is being split evenly, and in turn ensure that ideas and beliefs are being heard and incorporated from both officers?
Thank you for that question. It's one, compared to the previous question, I've definitely kept in mind. Knowing that this position holds two officers, it means that we have double the brain power and double the ideas, etc., etc. And so with that being in mind, one thing I will absolutely uphold to myself and my co is constant communication. Not just about what's within the organization and what our duties are, but also how we're doing as people. As I mentioned, burnout, again, it's very prevalent, and it's important that both of us are at our best to make sure that we can do our best. So with that being said, from the beginning of the term, I'll make sure to establish between both of us what our schedules are and what both of us know we can handle, and use that and kind of translate that into the events and things that we implement and apply for all the GBMers. Because our attitudes and work will be reflective of, or it will be reflected in how everyone perceives the event. Kind of tying this into my personal experience, working with other members on auxiliary boards such as both FACN board and SOAR board, I understand it's really important to work with people in multiple positions, especially my prior director position, to ensure that both of us and our ideas are put out there evenly. And so to go more into detail with that, in terms of making sure our ideas are both put out there and that there's a compromise between them, I'll always make sure to find that there's a compromise between those ideas and that they're both feasible for us to carry out.
Alright, so for your audience question, Filipino culture is not truly monolithic. There are more than dozens of cultures, languages, and regions. As a CoCo, what are ways you can teach about the cultures and regions outside of Tagalog region and Manila?
Maybe let's hear the question again.
Of course. Filipino culture is not truly monolithic. There are more than dozens of cultures, languages, and regions. As a CoCo, what are ways you can teach about the cultures and regions outside of the Tagalog region and Manila?
Thank you for that question. Like the first one, I did not anticipate this, but that just means there's, like I mentioned in my speech, learning and educating is really vital to our sense of gakwa. And as CoCo, I will take it upon myself first, and also my co, to make sure that we know what we're talking about. So when it comes to giving information and educating our general body on these different cultures and ones that myself, for example, may not be familiar to, I'll make sure that both of us, both my co and I, know what we're talking about and can confidently give accurate information. To add on, in terms of specific events or reports that I would like to implement for next year, something that somewhat ties into that question would be expanding word of the week to potentially words of the week and taking more time to cover languages in a deeper aspect. Instead of only introducing one word every other week, introduce multiple words or introduce how verbs may be connected to other languages, or really kind of the extent of where those words come from. In addition, in terms of learning about other cultures, I will take it upon myself and my co to make sure that we collaborate with our other pillars to connect with the parts of their culture as well. Because while my and my co's position, while it is within our bounds as cultural coordinators to touch on our sense of culture, we also need to make sure that we understand our pillars and also our other members' understandings and